Hello, and welcome to Health Matters, a show about the health issues and interests facing our community. I'm your host, Gilda Kramer. I'm a Lower Merion Township Commissioner, and I chair the Board of Commissioners Health Committee. Today, we're going to talk about vaping, the smoke that makes youth choke. My guests are Anjali Rooney and Selina Wu, two high school students, to discuss their take on the new deadly outbreak, vaping.
Hi, I'm Selina Wu, an international student from China and currently a rising junior at the Baldwin School located in Bryn Mawr. I am passionate about philanthropy geared towards healthcare and actively volunteer with the American Red Cross. Vaping is an important issue to me because it heavily impacts the lives of the teenagers around me, and I hope to bring more awareness to the dangers of vaping.
Hi there, my name is Anjali Rooney, and I am also an international student, recently moved from Dublin, Ireland, and now attending Herton High School in the Lower Merion School District. I personally enjoy performing arts and strive to make a difference the best I can to aid in the planet's sustainable development and humanitarian efforts, especially in the use of today's topic, which is smoking, which is so heavily commercialized to our generation.
Thank you both. Could you please tell us what vaping is and how you became involved in this issue?
Absolutely. Yes, Selina and I both became involved with this issue more thoroughly through the Lower Merion Youth Advocacy Program, which is headed by the amazing team, Allison Davis, Tiffany Rodriguez, Haneen El-Faki, and Kayla Gaffney. So this program began actually in the Lower Merion community this year to help raise awareness about vaping to the peer group it's been impacting the most, which is teens. And there are so many misconceptions, I think, about how vaping works and what's actually involved in the mechanics there. So we're here today to try and shed light on what's really happening when one takes a puff of e-liquid vapor.
Exactly, and vaping is commonly seen in our community and generation as a harmless tool or even toy that can be used to alleviate smokers from their nicotine addiction and for the enjoyment of youth. But you would be shocked at how little people actually know about vapes. So here on the slideshow, first off, what is vaping? Similar to smoking, vaping is inhaling of a vapor that is created by an electronic cigarette, so commonly referred to as a vape. Vaping allows nicotine to enter the bloodstream, which stimulates a temporary buzz, and nicotine-containing electronic products have evolved over time, starting with the cig-alike, the vape pen, the box mod, and now the vape pod. Different e-cigarettes have different uses. Tanks and mods are filled with e-liquids, which is a nicotine-infused liquid, and rechargeable e-cigarettes often use pods, while disposable e-cigarettes have a certain amount of uses in them before they have to be discarded. Despite all the different types of vapes, an average vape pen consists of a mouthpiece, a compartment for airflow control, a chimney, an atomizer, a coil, a power button, and a battery.
Yeah, so sort of just jumping off there, I think one of the biggest misconceptions with vaping is that only water vapor is being emitted, which is very unfortunate because in reality, there are so many more toxins placed in the device, as you can see below. So a few of them included there are lead, which is commonly used in car batteries and has actually been banned from paints and from gasoline due to the Clean Air Act in 1996. A couple of the side effects of the intake of lead can lead to lead poisoning, stunting growth, causing nausea and vomit, and damaging one's cognitive brain development. A couple of other toxic chemicals can include cadmium, which is also included in batteries, pigments for coloring plastics, ceramics, glasses, plastic production. So you're seeing a reoccurring pattern here of the environment, these things that we're restricting from the environment and external use for ourselves, we're also sort of backwardsly allowing for us to intake as well. Another really prevalent chemical that's used is THC, which is actually the main active ingredient in marijuana, which is used to stimulate an intoxicated high. So these, along with vapor flavors, are really, really just drawing us in, and they can easily become, within a shadow of a doubt, an addictive use over a short period of time, which is why, as you know, the sooner the better that we can work to solve this issue.
How easy is it to get a vape?
Vapes are really, really accessible. In the beginning of our project that we did together, we had an assignment which we looked at vape shops, and we looked at the advertisements through the display windows, and it's really heavily marketed towards the youth with the packaging, the flavors. I remember distinctively that there was a flavor called Sour Patch Kid, which is a candy, and candy are, marketed towards children for that reason. And it's very, very easily accessible to the youth.
Are there vape shops in Lower Merion and Narberth?
There are many, yes. And it's sort of funny because you don't really notice it until you really start looking. But even in, I know Suburban Square, one recently just opened up, and that is a full vaping e-cigarette shop that you can just wander into easily. So as Selina said, it's pretty widely accessible for any ages, really, unfortunately. Yeah, so it is definitely open in society for sure.
Are there any age restrictions on who can purchase vapes?
I believe vapes are limited to anyone 18 plus. And I know certain vape shops require IDs before you can purchase a vape. However, it is so easily accessible to teens because certain vape shops do not require IDs for purchase, and teens could just go in and buy one like that.
Oh, I'm really sorry I'm going to have to interrupt our conversation, but we do have to take a break. We'll be back very shortly to discuss how harmful these devices really are. Welcome back to Health Matters, a show about health issues and interests facing our community. I'm your host, Gilda Kramer, Lower Merion Township Commissioner and chairs the Health Committee. We're talking with Anjali and Selina about vaping and some of the harmful effects of vaping. Anjali, what are some of the harmful effects of vaping?
Thank you, Commissioner Kramer. Yes, there are many harmful effects of vaping, but I would honestly say before we even dive into that, we kind of have to look at the surface of the issue and the source of the issue, which is marketing. And marketing is a great resource for advertising, but can be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands and very toxic for youth in particular, especially when mishandled by CEOs and executives of vaping companies. So a quote, as you can see on this slide here, from an executive at RJ Reynolds Tobacco. He explicitly states that for their products, they don't smoke that, they just sell it, and we reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the Black, and the stupid. This is just, I mean, especially as an adolescent who is looking up to the heads of these kind of companies, is just horrifying and shocking, and really, I think it just shows a true sign of character. and what they're really trying to advertise here, which leads me into the next thing, which is advertisement in terms of colorfulness, and as Selina was saying before, the sort of candy doppelgangers that are out there as well. So you can see here that there's Swedish fish flavors, Candy King, anywhere from fudge to Twizzlers to, you know, chocolates, and everything from A to Z, really. So it's quite mad how easily it's just turns into a bit of an Elmo fest almost for our age and our generation. And yeah, it's very disappointing, to be honest, to see how little they're showing respect for our own health as well as theirs.
Do the young people who use Juul know that it contains nicotine?
Unfortunately not, and I think that that's another huge issue, is that about sort of 2/3 of Juul users, who are generally about ages 15 to 24, don't know, have no inclination whatsoever that nicotine is involved in the product.
And yeah, along with these child side effects, there are also numerous unknown side effects with vapes, as there is still newer technology under research and development. And there are no real research done on the long-term effects of using e-cigarettes, because it's so new and it's never been tested, not like cigarettes. And the e-liquids used in vapes they actually contain toxic metals. So vaping exposes users to more toxic metals than smoking cigarettes. E-cigarette liquids and vapors contain metals and metalloids at levels likely to be harmful to someone's health. Well, think about it. If you're inhaling metals, I don't think that would be very good for your health in any aspect. And people who vape have higher levels of these elements in their blood and other bodily fluids than cigarette and cigar smokers do. So that also trumps the misconception that vaping is a healthier alternative to smoking. It actually puts more harmful metals into your system than smoking does. And vapes use a metal coil to heat the nicotine solution, and that's how the metals are put into your system.
How does all of this affect our community?
For sure, yeah. In 2019, there was a study done on the youth in Montgomery County specifically, and 14.5% reported vaping use. And teen e-cigarette users in general are about 4 times more likely to start smoking other tobacco products compared to non-users. And then from there, people who smoke cigarettes or tobacco products are about 15 to 30 times more likely to eventually get lung cancer or even pass from lung cancer. So it really is just a vicious cycle. So the sooner we can block it at the source and tie it off there, it's really going to be quite beneficial.
So what you're basically saying is that if people become addicted to the nicotine in vape, they often turn into lifelong smokers.
Yes, and what is even scarier is that the 2/3 percentage of teens that do smoke Juuls aren't even aware that there's nicotine involved, so they're becoming addicts without knowing, and it kind of creates a cycle of it creates a buzz every single time they take a hit from a Juul, and they don't quite know where that's coming from, so it creates a positive connotation with the product, and every single time they use it, they get the same buzz, so they'll keep on using it, and it creates as Anjali says, a malicious cycle.
Have there been serious injuries or deaths from use of e-cigarette?
Absolutely. I mean, as Selina was sort of talking about, there's definitely a lot more research to be done on the product, but because of all of the toxins and the metals that are being put into one system at one time, there have been numerous studies and trials and reports that have said that there have been multiple deaths from e-cigarettes, for sure.
So I guess it's a lot more dangerous than we're led to believe when we see all these delicious looking flavors. I'm sorry, but I'm going to need to interrupt again. We're going to have to take another break, and we'll be right back with more about vaping and what we can do to help solve this problem on Health Matters. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Health Matters, a show about the health issues and interests facing our community. I'm your host, Gilda Kramer. I am a Lower Merion Township Commissioner, and I chair the Health Committee. We've been talking about vaping and its dangers, and now we'd like to talk about what we in our community can do to help. Now that we have an idea of what vaping consists of and how it's affecting our community, are there any preventive measures that we can take to work against the proliferation of vaping in our community?
Vaping is definitely a prevalent issue in our community, and it continues straight into Attorney General Josh Shapiro's Juul lawsuit. So I guess we should back up to the heart of the issue. So why are we advocating against this? In Pennsylvania, stores are able to be across the street from schools because the law approves of the idea that, I guess, Juul stores are allowed to open in a community where there are adolescents. And over 1,400 people, mostly youth, have to go to the hospital due to e-cigarette and are having severe lung disease symptoms from e-cigarette use. Over 30 have died from using e-cigarette products. And so on to Attorney General Josh Shapiro's Juul lawsuit.
So you can kind of see a little bit here, but this Juul lawsuit is essentially used to help hold Juul accountable. So there are numerous petitions, but specifically for Pennsylvania, our Attorney General has been working on this, which is work to sort of help students, parents, guardians, and everyone in between to promote preventative measures for Juul and to help hold the government accountable for a few of the numerous negative side effects that we've been discussing over the past few minutes here. Another campaign for specifically from the Tobacco-Free Kids was recently posted in Positive View now by the FDA, April 29th, I believe this year. They said that they were planning to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars, which is brilliant news, but that is just step one. So it is our job as advocates now and as people of the community to try and further promote this action now. So if you travel to the campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids website, you can actually sign the petition today and add your name, any comments you like, your city, state, zip code, email, to support the FDA's move as swiftly as possible to get this across the line.
What can parents do, and how can they recognize when their children are using e-cigarettes? Are there any signs or things that parents or grandparents should look out for?
Well, e-cigarettes and all tobacco products have a certain scent to them, but because of the very creative flavors that are especially seen in e-cigarettes, it is actually kind of hard to recognize the scent of tobacco products. So I would honestly I would say that there's not like a clear method of identifying if your child has been using these products, but I would just try to create more conversation. It is not bad, but it will be bad if you continue to use the products. And I think it's also just really important for it to be an open conversation um, for school and other communities as well.
Anjali, do you have any thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, I sort of would reiterate really what Selina's saying. I don't think that there's one right method as a parent to sort of reprimand your child in this issue, but I think it's really just about sort of spreading awareness, and that sort of shock therapy I think works best. So if you show a couple of those numbers of this is, you know, what you're putting into your body and this is what can actually happen to you in the future if you continue down this road, I think that is probably the most effective way to prevention.
Is there a lot of peer pressure in our high schools now for students to use e-cigarettes?
I know that e-cigarette use in high schools are very common. A lot of schools actually put smoke detectors in the bathrooms because of how common it is for high schoolers to use vapes. And because it's such a like common concept now that there isn't like the sense of secrecy. So people will openly vape in public. I know Anjali said that there's a new vape store opening in Suburban, and I actually see a lot of high school kids just like openly vaping in Suburban Square as well.
Well, that's really a lot for us to think about. And, you know, are there things that our township can do to help educate people about the issue of vaping, or to control it in a way so that it's less accessible for young people?
Yeah, I mean, in 2019, there was actually a survey sent out to 8th and 10th grader, or 7th and 8th graders and 10th and 12th graders to see how vaping was sort of affecting that part of the community. So I think if we sort of keep up regular annual checkups like that in order to maintain the issue and keep an eye on where it's out, I think that could be a big help in sustaining it.
Well, that's really a lot for us to consider. Do you have any final words for us today?
We're here advocating for vaping awareness, but ultimately our goal is for more people to take action after hearing about this, and especially to go on the Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids website and signing a petition. I know I have already, and I know Anjali has as well, and to really take action, because that's what is going to push for change.
Exactly. Yeah. I think even just from there, it's also, you know, big changes come from small accumulative actions, and a little goes a long way here. 2 minutes, not even 1 minute to sign this survey. And if everyone lends a hand and takes a little bit of time out of their day to raise awareness about this issue, it can easily become less significant in all of our futures.
Well, that's all we have time for on this month's show. I want to thank my guests, Anjali Rooney and Selina Wu, for being here and sharing their knowledge and passion about vaping and health. I'm Gilda Kramer, and I'll see you next time on Health Matters.